All right, looking now at the Algebra FT question 1, and we've got a plus 5cd squared minus 9. Okay, we want to list all the terms here. So that's just each section of it. So and these are separated by some sort of function. Okay, so we've got a, comma, 5cd squared, comma, and we have 9. Okay, well, negative 9. We want to list all the variables. So the variables are all of these letters that we see here. So we have A, C, and D. Okay. The coefficient of A. Now this is a really common question. But they'll choose the one that doesn't have a number before it, just to test whether you know what this is actually doing. So for any letter that's got no number before it, we know that number must be a 1. Okay, so the coefficient of A is 1, okay, and then the constant is something that doesn't have a variable next to it, okay, so there's no variable here, no letter, okay, so it's 9, so we know here it's negative 9. Okay, Algebra FT question 2A and B, where they've given you a written statement and want you to create the expression that goes with it. Typically with these questions, once you've answered, reread what the instruction was and make sure it fits with what you've done, because most common thing with these is kids either have done the wrong function or they've got the question round back to front, okay? Okay, so here we've got the sum of 3 and k. What does sum equal? Sum means add, so it's 3 plus k. Okay, the sum of 3 and k, makes sense. Second one, the product of x and y is subtracted from 12. So the product of x and y, product means multiplication, so x times y, and we want to take that away from 12, okay? So we want to start with 12, and we're going to take x and y away from it, okay? So it's going to be x multiplied by y, the product, and then we would simply simplify that to 12, take away xy in that format, okay? Question 3b is a substitution question. So what we're given here is we're given the value of a number of variables, polynomials, and we're given some equations, some expressions, and we just need to do a substitution for these. So the first thing we do is we've got 6y, so that's going to equal 6 multiplied by y, which is 3, all over 7, or z rather, which is 5, plus 1. Okay, so that's what we want to write first up. We substitute the numbers in. We don't do anything at this stage. Okay, what we're doing is we're showing this is how I got to the next step. Okay, if we jump to the next step or we do them separately, it sort of makes it a bit messy. So now that's going to equal 18 over 6. 18 divided by 6 is going to be 3 as a simplified form. Okay, question 4 is an expansion question. Okay, typically with these questions, the error most kids make is they'll do this to this, and then they leave the second part alone for some reason. So we've always got to make sure we're doing 5 multiplied by 3a. Okay, so it's 5 times 3a, and then it's going to be 5 multiplied by 4. Okay, and we're adding those together. Okay, so that's going to give us 5 by 3a is 15a plus 20. Okay, yeah, it's interesting how kids will often get that wrong, but they get to that bit and they leave the second part alone. Okay, so we've got a simplification here of an expression that has multiple terms in it that are the same. Okay, and so what we want to do, the first one is we want to gather like terms. Okay, and that means gather together the terms that are the same pronumeral. So here we have 3x, and we want to gather the negative 8x, and then we've got the negative 7y, and we want to add on to the 9y to gather it that way. What we want to make sure is we keep the start with the first value here and leave it there, and then just leave everything else in the same left to right order that it appears in rather than jumbling it around. Okay. From there, we need to now simplify. Okay. So we simplify as our next step. So 3x take away 5x is negative 5x. And negative 7y plus 9y is going to be positive 2y. Okay. And so in doing it like this, where you do it all in the one spot, it keeps some structure and some organisation to it. When we tend to put things off in different sections and then try to bring it back at the end, we often end up with a situation where we'll end up here with, say, 2y take away 5x. So we end up with a different answer from what we started with. Okay. So we want to make sure that we're keeping that structure of that original expression. Okay, same as the last question, we've got a situation here where we need to simplify an expression. And again, keep the expression together. Don't divide it off into sections and solve little bits and pieces and then try and bring it back together. In this case, if we think back to the first question of this paper, we know that at the beginning of a variable where there's no number, we know that number has to be a 1, okay? So in actual fact, that's negative 1a. So 5a take away a is like 5a take away 1a. Okay, so that's going to give us 4a and then just plus 2. Okay, so in this case, the terms are already gathered and the simplification just comes in one single step. For question 5, part C, we've got an expression, it needs to be simplified, and what we see here is some of the trickiness that we get sometimes with these questions, and that is, we have a situation here where we have ST and we have TS, and what we need to identify is that ST equals S times T, and TS equals T times S, and what we know is that we can flip those around either way and it makes no difference. So in actual fact, ST and TS are like terms, okay? And what we want to do is we'll change them so that they're all in alphabetical order, okay? So it's going to be ST as being the alphabetical order. So the first thing we'll do here is gather like terms, okay? So we'll go negative 12 ST, and we're going to gather the plus 4, and we're going to change it to ST here, okay? Then we're going to put our plus 5t and our take away 3t. So we've gathered our like terms, and we've done it all in one line, okay? And this is where, hopefully handwriting is a good size, spacing is good, and we can now create the structure where we're going to be able to simplify this to here, and get hopefully an answer at the bottom. Negative 12 plus 4 is going to be negative 8 ST, okay? And then positive 5t take away 3 is going to leave us with positive 2t. And that's our answer. We want to simplify 2 times 3. We just need to understand this actually means 2 times 3 times a, okay? And so then 2 times 3 is 6, times a is going to equal 6a, all right? What we want to be careful about doing is sort of slicing that off and doing a 2 times 3 and then going, oh, that equals 6a, because that statement is not true. There's no a on this side, it can't be equal to 6a. So we've got to be careful about writing statements that are not true as proof of what we're doing. Okay, next question is a division expression. So we just want to write this as a fraction, like this. So that's our first move, write it as a fraction, because with expressions in algebra, we always want to write them as fractions, okay, rather than having a division sign. And from there we can cancel. 6 goes once, 6 goes twice. So that's then going to equal 2x. All right, here we have the expression 3x squared y multiplied by 7x. Okay, and so to understand this, it's really 3 times by x squared times by y times by 7 times by x. Okay, and what we can do here is we can see that 3 multiplied by 7 is going to give us 21. Okay, x squared, and now remember that x squared is x multiplied by x, and we're multiplying it by another x here. Okay, so that's going to give us x cubed, and then it's multiplied by y, so that's just y there. So the multiplication signs disappear, okay, and we can just simplify this x squared by x to make it x cubed. Okay, question D here, 10a squared b over 15ab. Now, if you did question C using a fraction format, then this will be familiar to you, and this is the power of doing things in the same way, really the expected way, because it allows you to then repeat a skill and not have to create something more complicated. So here, it's really just a case of simplification, okay? So here we've got a B and a B, so we can cross each of those out. Now you notice I'm doing it in a different colour, make it a bit easier. Here we've got an A and an A squared. Now remember, the A squared is A times A. So we're getting rid of one of those A's, all right? So it's just going to become A at the top. So what I do is we cross out the power. Okay, that leaves one A there, and we cross out the A at the bottom here. And we've got 10 and 15, and we know that 5 goes into both of those. So 5 goes into 10 twice, and 5 goes into 15 3 times. And then that gives us 2A all over 3. Okay, question 7 is a really classic sort of algebra question where we're given something related to someone's workday, and clearly in a workday, typically most people work at an hourly rate. So it's how much do I earn per hour, and then how many hours did I work? And we can create expressions to reflect this. So in this case here, we know that X is the number of dollars per hour. So if she works for 6 hours, it's 6 multiplied by X. So that's going to equal 6X in simplest form. We then see in question B, and you've got to read this question quite carefully because it says that her hourly rate doubles, okay? Hourly rate doubles and then it increases, okay? So we've got to double it first and then we've got to increase it. So it doubles, okay? So this hourly rate, 2x. So it's asking us to go back to the original bit of data, not this part here, this question here, okay? So back to the original data, which is x. So it's going to be double, which is times 2, okay? So 2 times by x, okay? And then we're going to increase it by 3. Like this, okay? So that's going to create 2 times x is 2x plus 3 as our simplified expression. Now it's saying we want to do 5 hours work with this new formula. So now it's 5 multiplied by, and this is where you need to use brackets, 2x plus 3, because the 5 is multiplied by all of it, okay? If we don't put brackets on this, then it's just going to be 5 times 2x and then add on 3. So we want to make sure that we're doing the whole thing here, okay? And it says answer in expanded form. So we've got to expand this out. So it's going to be 5 times 2x, okay? So that's going to equal 10x. And then 5 times 3, which is 15, positive 15. 10x plus 15.